Ladies and gentlemen, what up? What up? It's WGSN Going Solo Network. It's Thinking Twice, and I'm Mr. Twice. We got the Dean in the background. He making sure everything's straight. We got CC running the ones and twos. We greatly appreciate you. What I'm about to go ahead and do is I'm about to share this live a little bit. Let the people know where we at. Just give me one moment, and we're gonna get this thing running.
Same thing you are. I'm sharing it. When we share, we get a lot of people on there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, because a lot of people need to hear about this, man. They need to hear about, dating, healthy dating, different eras. Maybe, we might even need to bring back a couple of dating traditions, or, some dating, some dating traditions, because I was going to go into it. I am going to end up doing so. But, yeah, they used to do a lot of things different. And, they used to court the lady. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with that.
They used to court her.
I had an interesting conversation with somebody today, especially while you're sharing. I'll tell my story a little bit. I had a conversation with somebody today, and, we started to talk a little bit online. We had some mutual interests.
Yeah.
And I said to her, look, I'm going to be straight up. I'm going to be really honest with you. So I'm going to totally be transparent. I said, I am talking to one or two folks in a non-monogamous way. Not exclusive, not serious at the moment, but maybe it'll get there. I want you to know what's going on. And she goes, okay, I'm glad that you told me that. I don't want to be in that situation, so I'm not going to flirt with you.
Yeah. I
go, that's great. She goes, isn't it so great when you could just tell somebody up front what it is that you want? And I said, yeah, I think we miss some of that in our generation, and it goes with that whole thing. It goes with courting, transparency, being honest, being open, letting folks know.
And that's how it was, honestly.
Yeah.
So, folks, again, if you're just tuning in, this is WGSN Going Solo Network. This is Thinking Twice, and I am Mr. Twice. I got the Dean in the background. He's going to make sure I stay on point. I got CC running the ones and twos. Again, CC, we greatly appreciate you. And today, ladies and gents, we're going to be discussing dating dynasties, like the different dynasties, the different eras of dating. Because as time has changed, we have changed. So what we have to realize and recognize, some things are great, some things haven't been so great. And it's almost like a trial and error basis. So we're not going to go all the way as far back as, the beginning of time or what has been recorded. Yet, the first thing you want to go to is the medieval times. Mm-hmm. In the medieval times, it started off buying a woman dinner, opening doors for her. That's where courting actually started, in the medieval times, where you had to, didn't they used to joust for a woman's love?
I mean, there was all sorts of duel for someone.
Yeah.
You got to think about that.
They used to fight to the death for a woman's love.
The woman didn't even have a say in it. If I just killed you, I just got the girl.
Yeah.
What if the girl was like,
I don't want you.
I want this guy. You got to think about with Troy, right? What movie was that? Troy. The movie Troy, right?
Exactly.
And
Absolutely.
It was the Oedipal, right? The Oedipal in the Odyssey. It was the Oedipal.
Yeah.
Where she had this masculine, burly dude, and she wanted Legolas with the bow and arrow. Yeah. That guy. She wanted the more feminine.
Yeah.
Blonde,
the guy that was sly and sleek and slick.
The reality is, if I beat the crap out of you, I get the woman. I don't there's a lot of people who can beat the crap out of me. I don't think that they deserve my spouse or my partner.
Hey,
that's how that works.
That is. So, how do y'all feel about that? So it almost goes back to superiority or power, or even back in the days where men used to hunt.
Right.
The best hunter always got the best woman.
Somewhere in there, though, I see. Look at Scar and who's the King and the Lion King, Mufasa, right?
Mufasa.
I think somewhere in there, there's a place for Scar, the kind of weaselly, witty,
and then taking advantage of opportunities kind of guy.
I think there's that kind of guy too. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Women love the wits. I will tell you that. So in the medieval times, that's what was going on. The importance of love also emerged back then as well as a reaction arranged around marriages.
Okay.
It was not considered a prerequisite or matrimonial considered decisions. Suitors wooed in their intended serenities and flawed poetry. So back in the Shakespeare, poetry was a big Shakespeare's time. Would you consider that medieval? Shakespeare?
Is that medieval?
Or the Renaissance?
Look, that's Renaissance, I think. Look, here's the deal. We got this handy-dandy computer.
The handy-dandy computer.
What time period was...
So the medieval time was 1200s.
Yeah.
The Renaissance was the 1400s.
I think that was the Renaissance.
And so...
it was the Elizabethan era. This thing.
Yeah.
Elizabethan era.
Yes, Elizabethan.
Yeah.
I meant,
so who even knows?
Who even knows?
Oh, it's part of the larger Tudor period.
Mm.
I miss that as well. I'm a poet, and we. And see, that's more my style.
Mm.
I'm not going to joust for your love.
I'm not gonna, they used to.
But I'm going to write you a sonnet.
Yeah.
And with my words, I will make you fall in love with me. And my words are stronger than those of the words around me.
Have you ever read the book The Art of Seduction?
I've not. I've been meaning to.
Oh my goodness. There was one particular story. I think the guy's name was it's a very Don Juan.
Yeah.
He's the original Don Juan. So this was back in, and I haven't read this story in a long time, so my dates may be a little bit off. So Don Juan was maybe in like the 1500s. So he was looking at a woman. All the men wanted this woman.
Okay.
And
why? Did they say why?
Why she wanted her? She was just the prettiest woman. Okay. She just held herself at a higher level. And,
I always wonder about
that.
That, like why.
And she was just, super attractive, I guess. So Don Juan, he took a different approach to get her.
See, that's how it goes, right?
And the approach that he took was he wrote her anonymous letters week after week after week after week.
If I do that, I get in a lot of trouble. I get a lot of trouble.
Yeah, do you think that'll work now?
I don't think so. I don't.
Writing a woman anonymous letters. She probably, that's like sending her a text message. She just like, pretty much. Like, and if she doesn't know the message,
you can write somebody anonymous letters for a long time, and you're going to get in a lot of trouble. Like somebody's going to knock on your door. You can't get
in trouble for that.
Depending on what the letters say. What if I wrote somebody a bunch of letters? I want you. I'm really interested. I would like to see you. I want to meet you. I want to take you out. If they're unrequited and they trace them back.
Oh, they coming for you.
That's a lot. And it's all in writing.
So you can't get out, can't get away.
I don't know that I love that.
I don't know.
Because that would be a great way. Because then somebody fall in love with your words, right? I apparently dad bods are in. So
yeah, absolutely, and dad hats.
Yeah, I love my body, so I'm not gonna complain about my body. But I think there are a lot of folks who probably don't love my body.
Mm-hmm.
That
everyone has a particular preference.
But if I can get my words in front of their face, then maybe they would overlook the fact that I got a little dad bod going on, and I want to be loved for me.
And that's where that poet comes into play. So Don Juan ends up writing this woman anonymous letters. She never knows who he is, but she gets courted by so many men, or so many men are really after her. She thinks it's somebody else. So she's all in her head. She can't think about nobody else. So she's trying to figure out exactly who is writing her these letters, because these letters that Don Juan is writing are exquisite. She reads them and she's captivated. She reads them over and over and over, keeps all the letters, right? So after, years and years of writing letters, he stops. And she doesn't know what to do. She loses her mind. She's looking for the guy. And long story short, what ends up happening, he meets her and he falls out of love with her because he falls in love with somebody else. And,
really?
Yeah.
So he goes through all this trouble.
Yes.
And
Years.
See that is the fundamental problem with
the
men.
fundamental. What was
because we like the hunt, we like the chase,
Oh.
and then when you get
and she had because he had her
right when that happens, then you just go, oh well, that was cool. I want somebody else now.
Wow, that's so.
See, this is not a 2020.
That's the chase.
This is not a 2020 problem. This is a real problem. This has been going on.
It's just been going on. People
centuries.
like the chase.
Yeah. That's like.
Even
I'm upset for this woman.
I'm upset because she turned down so many different men.
Yeah.
And just because he got in her head. He told her he was infatuated with her. He was recognizing, noticing things that nobody else noticed, and that this was happening, centuries ago. So dating back then is totally different from now. So like you can't really write. I don't know of a woman that today that likes a man that writes her letters. Now I think the equivalence to it now is singing a song. I think that's the equivalent. So like,
so you might be, you might not be realizing that people probably like you for your words. So I would say that 9 out of the 10 women, the last 10 women I've dated, have liked me for my brain and specifically for my way with words. They appreciate the way that I can make them feel with words, and they appreciate my writing style. That has
those are skills, man. Yeah. Those are real skills.
I tend to date women who are sapiosexual, right? Women who
I love that.
Yeah, who like intelligence. So
and
that's where my dad bud doesn't matter because you like me for me.
Yeah,
the brain and the soul that this body holds, and that's where I feel most happy.
Absolutely, and I feel like because my love language is words of affirmation. So I have learned.
Yes,
I had to learn how to kind of separate what sounds good and what is good.
Yeah.
Because some people can make it sound real good, but then they never make it good.
Right. That's true.
So that's what you have to learn, how to separate the two, especially if words of affirmation if your love language. But that's like the medieval times. Now during the Victorian era, which was 1800s all the way down to the 1900s, this is when romance actually became the primary view or the primary requirement for marriage. Now these days, when do you think like romance stopped being a requirement for marriage now?
What do you mean? You don't think romance is a requirement for marriage?
No.
What do you think of?
Some people just like to burn a hole in the rug.
I don't even know what that means.
Intimate. They get intimate.
Oh, got it. You don't think there's romance before there's marriage?
More marriages don't have romance these days, for sure.
I'm going to push back and say that they have romance for a shorter period of time, but I think there's romance. I think you're saying is that our romance has become more shallow. Is that fair? That
may be a little more
let me get down
detailed.
Let me get down to the meat of what you're trying to say. I think that folks who have gotten married or are getting married have done things probably the right way. I think what you're saying is there's not a lot of romance in relationships in general.
No, not at all.
No, you're not.
No, I'm saying there's not romance in general. Correct. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Because if you're going to testify that there's no romance in marriage, we got a major problem with marriage, right?
Yeah.
Most of the people I know who have gotten married are old school, right? They're getting married because there's romance. But no, I think you're right in that we don't pick up folks for dinner anymore. We don't hold their doors. I will say that, and you know this about me, and my folks know this about me as well. I've been historically a player for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Hold on.
God bless you.
Thank you. I'm allergic to the truth. So I've been historically a player for a long time, but one thing that you'll find about me, even though I've dated multiple women, I've dated quickly and then gone to somebody else, I have always been a gentleman on the date. So opening the door, paying for the meal, I usually, if it's a date, it's an actual date, not like let's hang out kind of thing, which women ask me to do. I will typically get a flower or a card or something that says, "Hey, thanks for your time and for your energy."
You send them a card?
I'll bring them one.
Oh,
especially,
nice.
if we've been talking for a while, let's say.
That's very thoughtful.
Yeah, like there's somebody that I've been talking to for a little bit now, and if and when we do eventually go on a date, I know a lot about her, so I'll make a joke about what I know or what something intimate, something nice. So I'll do that, and you would be shocked at how many people go, "What are you doing? Like, are you serious right now?" I go, "Yeah, I'm serious. I'm doing this because I want to, and because I care, and because if we're gonna go on a date, even if it's a one night stand date, I'm gonna treat you like a human and like a lady,
right?" And it's to these days, it's sad to say, and I don't want to say it too weird or offensive. Women don't require men to be gentlemen these days.
Well, that's the thing, and I'll talk about this all day because I think that yes, are men at fault? 100%, 1,000% men are at fault. Hold on.
I could go ahead and combat that,
but
for sure.
But unfortunately, because women have been so conditioned, we're talking about hetero partnerships, right? Women have been so conditioned to just not expect that from men that unfortunately they take what's available as far as the dating pool goes, and what's available is not romance. What's available is crap.
But they say men marry who they want, women marry who they can.
Is that correct? That sounds terrible.
That sounds terrible.
That sounds awful. Yeah.
That sounds terrible. So we're gonna establish that back in the Victorian century is when love was the requirement for romance. Now, I want to kind of go back in time now, back into like the 1600s and the colonial times.
Now, I just want to interrupt. Sarah Ann Evans says, I think a huge part of that is that women get quite a bit of flack for demanding men to be gentlemen. Wow, that's an interesting. It's interesting. I didn't think of that.
Well, so when you say flat, you mean like women get like talked bad about, or they get like pushed to the side or looked at differently?
Maybe
because
like an eye roll, something like that. Like, oh, you really want me to be a gentleman? Like, oh, that's crap.
Well, that just speaks to his upbringing.
I would agree with that. I think this is why you and I disagree on a couple of things. I don't think you see the systemicness of how awful men are, most men, because you seem to me like you treat women with respect on a date. I don't think you understand the amount of, I'm not going to say the bad word,
bigotry. What'd you call it?
The D pics that are sent.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. I've dropped a couple of those.
The demand of trying to help you out here, man.
I'm trying to help you. Hey,
The
man.
the demand of sex, the dropping of complete interest when they find out that sex isn't going to happen on the first date. It's bad.
Yeah.
Now, look, you can say what you want to say about me. You can say that I'm a bad guy. You can say I'm a bad dater. You can say I'm a player. You can say all these things. But when I'm interested in someone, I'm transparent, I'm open, I'm honest, I'm a gentleman, and I let them know what I want
from the
get-go. But I also let them know in a very, very gentlemanly way. I will say to someone, look, I'm not really open to anything right now but a weekend, but I'll make it a great weekend.
Yeah.
Or on the other hand, I'll say, I've had some folks I've been talking to that I've said, look, I'm actually not interested in intimacy right now. I'm not interested in physical intimacy. I'm really interested in getting to know you because I'm not ready for that. And before we step into that limelight, let's just get to know each other. Now, people have come back to me and said, literally, women have said to me, I decide when we have intimacy, and I've decided.
And they say, let's do it.
And they say, let's do it. And I go, I still don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah. And doesn't that make a woman even more attracted to you once that happens?
Well, it probably does. It probably makes them second guess. Why does he not want the intimacy? I want it now.
Oh, so you think they lose some of their confidence opposed to?
No, I certainly don't want that to happen. It might be that, but it also could be, wow, I've never met somebody who says that. Now I want them more. And that is not my I want to know that is not a manipulation. It's not something that I do.
So many men want to get away with doing the bare minimum, expect what women are amazed at. Yeah, that's true. And I don't even think it's men. It's just society at large. People are going to.
You're not hearing her. She just told you it's men.
Well, didn't James Brown say it's a man's world?
Unfortunately.
I always said, I've been on record saying this. Women run the world. I've said this several times.
Yeah?
Oh yeah, absolutely. On that, a couple times for sure. And then you could look it up. And when you throw out your expectations, explain that they aren't meeting that expectations. So as far as with expectations, me personally, I hold them, but I don't get attached to them.
Okay.
Because once you get attached to them, that's when disappointment comes.
Okay.
So you can have your expectations, but if you get attached to those expectations, like you're going to actually, feel some type of way. But we're going to take a quick break real quick, pay a couple bills. We'll be right back. Yo, what's happening, man? Y'all know what it is. It's Mr. Twice, and we're thinking twice. This is WGSN Going Solo Network. I got my dog, the Dean, right here. He's keeping me right on my ones and twos. Cece in the back. She making everything spin for the win. Appreciate you, Cece. And we're talking about dating dynasties today. So the different eras of dating, we're kind of comparing them to how we're dating now, and seeing what differences are. Some things we want to bring back, some things we should throw away, and everything in between. We were just talking about the Victorian era and how, and we kind of talked about dating, or how men aren't gentlemen anymore, or men don't like to court women anymore.
I liked what you said about the dating dynasties, though, that how dating has evolved, because I think there was a couple of 100 years of romance.
Yeah.
Right. That we've completely, we started as these more kind of barbaric, we were tribal, I don't want to, barbaric's probably the wrong word. It's probably an offensive word, and I apologize.
Yeah,
but we weren't as refined and sophisticated as we are now. And we did kind of, men kind of took what they were going to take, and that's what it was. And then there was this period of a couple of hundred years of romance, and we are on a downswing in my opinion.
For sure. Goes. Absolutely. Now, but here's the thing, though. It almost goes in trends, because in the 1400s, when kind of romance kind of started, and you had to court your woman, the 1800s is when let me go back to my notes. I'm sorry. The 1800s is when love came back.
Yeah.
The 1600s is when people were starting to get married, especially in colonial times.
Yeah.
When English came to America, people got married for land, for status.
Really?
And so that they could have more children to help their crops, and for money, and to have hands in the field and work. It wasn't for love at all. And
I'm not gonna lie, if I owned a small business and I could create some free employees,
I
might consider it.
Right. Yeah. That it's a thought, huh?
Yeah.
For sure.
The best part about kids is making them.
Right. The best part about it is making them, and then if they can make you money, that's a win-win.
This all sounds good to me. I think I'm gonna start doing that.
I think we're gonna start making some workers, some employees, some free ones. But yeah, in the 1600s, and back then, you have to remember, it was a different time. And back then, women weren't allowed to own anything. So what they did was the parents arranged marriages so that their sons could inherit, and the land could stay in the family of what they intended. Because if they had all women or girls when their children were born, or however the case may be, they wanted to set it up to where that the land stayed in the family and didn't get inherited by another family, just strictly based upon
Sounds like arranged marriages.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And so you really didn't have that choice, and it wasn't love romance like it was back in the medieval times and the Victorian era. So there was a period of time where, and honestly, if you think about it, it was, England. Then England came over to America, and so maybe once they came to the Americas, that's when it kind of all changed, and it was a little bit different from there.
Well, yeah, I mean, and America has always been a lot more progressive than other countries. I don't know where we're at right now, but maybe with that progressiveness, we've lost a bit of that romance, I mean, there are other countries. Look at like Italy. You walk around as a female in Italy, it is worse than America. I mean, they literally just run at you with their pants down and their hands open.
Yeah.
But like,
oh wow.
Yeah, I'd say English men are a little bit more genteel. They're a little bit more pristine in the ways that they court. I'd say Australia also because it's UK. Here's something interesting. In China, so you remember that in China, 30 some odd years ago, there was a limit on how many children you could have.
I think it was one or two.
It was one child. And do you remember what people were doing to the females when they gave birth to them?
Yes,
they were unfortunately killing or leaving them places. There was actually apparently a rumor. I need to fact check this, but I read it somewhere, a couple of places, that China offered the U.S. like 2 million women. They were like, "We will ship you women," and the U.S. was like, "Are you out of your mind?"
Right? What?
And this is the global leader today. I don't know how that happened, so that's what they said. So very interestingly enough,
wow.
In China now, and for the past decade or so, guess what happened? How many more men are there than women in the dating pool?
Way more men.
Way more men. So now, as a female, you go down to the local park and you put up a table and you sit there, and parents will come. Not even the child. Sometimes parents will come with a resume, bank statement, and photo of their son, and you get to pick who you go on a date with.
Wow, that's how they did it. That's how they kind of did it in the medieval times. I mean, excuse me, like the Renaissance era. Because what they would do was, now we're kind of going back, and this is like the 1400s. Women would be in the courtyard.
Right.
The man would give her a card, and at the end of the day, she goes through her cards, and then she picks out which guy she wants to take home.
I like that. That's cool.
So
I think that's great.
You think that's
evens the playing field a little bit, Take my card. I'm cool with it,
See,
nice little picture
today nobody uses, like, if I ever gave a card to a woman,
yeah,
she's never called me.
Really?
Never on it with a card. Now if we use my phone, if I use my phone number, that I've had way better chances.
I'll tell you a funny story. I was taking a certification exam at a university, and it wasn't a university that I taught at, so totally fine. I didn't know how old it was. It was a while back. I didn't know how old the woman was who was administering the exam, but she was a grad student, and she was so pretty. And I left her on my scrap paper for the exam because she had to collect the scrap paper. I said, "So you look really pretty today. I don't know you. Here's my information." And I left her my information. And when she found me. She Googled me. She found me. She messaged me, and we actually became friends for a little bit.
Oh, nice.
She was seeing somebody at the time.
Yeah.
So it wasn't. We couldn't go on a date, but we were friendly.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a winning situation.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, if you can always find a good person, a good friend, and a good person to talk to, man.
It wasn't bad to look at either. It was fun.
Yeah, well, she was easy on the eyes.
Right.
Yeah, for real. So with the, like I was saying, that there's trends of dating. So now, after the colonial stage, we start, and we ended up passing, and we're moving from continent to continent with the dating, but it's different eras and different times, different places, locations, but we're all still the same people. So maybe it's, we can adopt a few of the different things. Now, they said once you started going into the turn of the century, the 1900s, things start to get a little different. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of wanted to. I'm gonna stop today at the 1950s and 1960s.
Okay.
Next week, we're gonna do the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and that's gonna be a good time. But for the 50s, now the 50s, when you were dating in the 50s, they were really big on having one partner.
In the 50s, you said?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, like, even in high school, they called it going steady.
Of course.
So, like, I think they said like 75% of high school students only had one girl, and it was, or one boyfriend. And if you had more than one, you were frowned upon, very much so. Now, and that makes me think, like, was the Fonz frowned upon? Because he had one for every day of the week.
Yeah, I think the Fonz was like an anomaly. You know, the
Fonz, he was an anomaly.
The Fonz could do no wrong.
In fact, no wrong.
And he was definitely a womanizer, chauvinist. Did you ever see the episode of the Fonz where he went down to like Miami Beach? They named a whole movement after him.
No, let's talk about it.
It was like the 9th or 10th season of Happy Days. And they were like like the stories were getting old. How many times is he going to hit the jukebox? How many times is he going to have a woman that he dates? How many times is he going to beat somebody up, right?
Yeah.
So he had to do a charity event, and he did water skiing in the water, and he had to jump over a ramp. And
he used his feet.
And no, apparently he used the skis.
Oh.
But apparently a shark bit at him while he was in the air, and he jumped over the shark. And people were like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen, that the Fonz in his leather jacket jumped over a shark. So they called it jumping the shark. When a TV show gets too unbelievable, you call it jumping the shark now.
Wow.
So while Fonz had his good run, I think Fonz was a little bit unrealistic for that time era.
Was that when Jaws came out too?
Might have been.
So they probably were trying to throw a little bit of, Jaws was hot, because when Jaws came out, off topic a little bit, Jaws came out, it was super hot, did huge in the movies, it was super popular. So that they might have just did that.
Yeah, for sure.
So also another thing that they did, which was different in the 1950s.
Right.
They got married by 21. Most people got married at the age of 21.
Or even younger, probably, right?
Even younger. They say on average, men were 21, women were 20.
Okay.
And that was back in the time where you had the rolling phone. So when you called the house, hey, Miss Tommy, is your son home? You had to call. Is your daughter home?
Chaperone dates.
Yeah, you got to call their house. Mom, dad answers. You gotta talk to them. You got to get permission to take them on dates. You get like you said, chaperone dates.
Like The Godfather. Right? You ever see The Godfather?
Yeah.
The first Godfather,
yeah.
Right? He's walking with the girl. She's walking. She trips for a second. He grabs her. He holds her up. And then behind her, it's like her whole family just watching, making sure she's okay.
Right. And I'm telling you. And I think this is about the time where they were throwing your jackets over your puddles.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, you said you've done that before.
I've done 100% done it.
I don't know. I haven't tried that one yet. I haven't.
Well, I mean, I'd rather just avoid the puddle.
How is she? She just stands there and looks at the puddle.
Yeah.
Well, we can walk around it.
Yeah. There's like six other ways we can walk around.
Yeah.
But if you can't, if it's quite a puddle,
then build a bridge.
Yeah. With a jacket.
With your jacket.
I'll do it.
Because you can't wear that jacket no more.
We can't hang out with that woman anymore if she doesn't see you being chivalrous.
I would rather pick her up.
So then do whatever you need to. I think the laying of the jacket is inconsequential. I think the point is don't let your date get wet.
Right. I'd rather put her on my shoulder, give her a piggyback ride. Hold her like Superman.
Yeah.
However, but that it was.
Well, you're a strapping dude, and you also are the kind of guy who might have jousted for a woman, right?
I might have.
The kind of guy who wrote a sonnet for his lady might have to lay the jacket down. You know, not have the strength.
I'd probably do both.
Fair.
I'd probably do both.
You know.
Now, in the 50s, so like I said, the dating protocol, you have to, ask for the dates and stuff like that. Also, most of the time, a lot of the dates were in the car because they.
What do you mean in the car?
Yeah, they didn't have a bunch of like places for you to go.
Where? What? I missed that whole. I looked away for 2 seconds.
A lot of dates were in
the
cars.
50s?
Absolutely.
You didn't have a malt shop to go to?
That was when cars started getting like fast and sleek, like they had drive-throughs.
Yeah, I get that.
Not drive-throughs, drive-in movies.
Yeah, I get that.
So, but like if you were to see high school daters and you see a car parked on the side of the road, there's people in there.
There's a reason for that twice.
There's a reason. I'm just saying there's a lot of.
The reason is that they couldn't find a bedroom to make out in.
Maybe, but
if you were dating in your 20s, where you lived in an apartment or a home by yourself,
most
that's your butt that they were going into that mall shop to get a burger, and they would go home if they wanted to get a little free.
Yeah, they wanted to go home. Well, I'm just talking about a couple articles that I was, doing some research.
Sorry, you have research,
and they're telling me that a lot of
everything I said is not research based.
A lot of dates, they and I wouldn't, who knows? 40% might be a lot.
Is that what you said? You read 40%?
No, I said 40% might be a lot.
Oh,
they didn't give you any kind of numbers or anything like that.
No, I'm with you. I think in high school you probably stayed in your car for a little while.
Yeah.
What did we do? We stayed in our cars in high school. You wanted to make out. You wanted to maybe. You're not going to bring this girl home, but your mom's going to ask questions. Your dad's going to ask. They're going to ask questions. Their parents. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to get a good night kiss, sometimes it lasts a little longer. You pull around the corner.
Right. Absolutely. And see, I think it's still like that to this day though. There's a lot of car dates. There's not as many, but a lot of people do.
I think today's parents are more liberal. I think kids find new and interesting spaces.
Right, new and interesting. Even when what's the movie? Ricky Bobby, Talladega Nights.
Talladega Nights.
In the beginning of the movie, when they said Ricky Bobby was born
in the car.
Yeah,
that's true.
And
conceived
in the car.
That's true.
So I think it has happened a lot. There might be a lot of us that was made in a car. So yeah, the 50s was an interesting time. A lot. That was when also women didn't. It was frowned upon for a woman to approach a man as well.
Oh yeah,
these days,
not cool for them.
These days, it's totally different.
Yeah.
Like they say, a woman was supposed to play that shy, hard to get kind of gal all the time. That was exactly how they're supposed to be.
And I don't know about shy and hard to get, but I think there's something to be said now about not giving it all up right away. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think that we have lost a bit of that, and this is where I think Sarah Ann's comment comes in, right? Where she says men expect you to just kind of show and give it up, and they pressure you to do that. I think there's something to be said about. I enjoy someone who says, "I'm going to make you." Maybe they don't say, "I'm going to make you wait," because I don't like that kind of. My body's the prize and your body is not, right? But I like somebody who says, when we're both ready for that, let's share that.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things. Look, there are a lot of things in the 50s that I'd like to do without, right? Civil rights were in a bad place. Women's rights were in a bad place.
Uh-huh.
We were in a Cold War. A lot of things that not so great, right? I think that a little bit of romance and chivalry from the 50s we could do well with here in 2020. I'm not even on any dating apps for that reason, because I refuse to just talk to somebody where they think my intention is to get a nude photo.
Yeah.
It is not to get a nude photo. There are websites for that I can explore.
Yeah, and that's right. And we can get videos on those websites.
You can?
Yeah.
I did not. It's news to me.
I'll put you on. Don't worry. But yeah, dating has evolved time and time again through it. And I say trends don't do nothing but recycle. So right now, I believe we're in a trend of where it's all helter skelter, and there's no romance. There's everything is super, bing bang boom kind of thing. And I think we're about to go in a time where love is going to be the forefront.
You think so?
I believe so. I teach people how to love themselves. To be honest,
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I really do.
I wonder. So this brings me to this new song that came out. This WAP song.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
And now women are having
They go
this.
WAP.
I thought it was WAP.
WAP.
WAP would be WOP.
Short A.
Okay. They said WAP. Okay.
Yeah. So song goes WAP.
Yeah. There were. In fact, there was an Italian American who posted, "How dare you put WAP up there?" As an Italian American,
What's WAP mean?
Well, WOP, not WAP. WOP is a phrase for without papers, meaning that a lot of Italian Americans would come to the U.S. without papers. They were basically illegal immigrants. That's about the worst thing you could say about an Italian American, and is dwarfed by the things you could say about almost every other ethnic group that has come to this country. So,
right,
very misguided. But a lot of men are out there saying, "Oh, this WAP song," and women too, saying this WAP song to sexualize, to whatever. The reality is the lyrics are they're so comparative to things that men have been saying for the past 15 years in hip hop,
right,
that we've just forgotten that. So there's this double standard.
It's terrible.
Where and this is where I agree with the women who have talked about it on the show today and said, look, men expect women to just give it up, but at the same time, they don't expect women to own their sexuality in music or art or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think men have to come through and say, look, if I'm wanting you to be sexual and I'm wanting you to be sexualized and I'm wanting what I want from you, then I can't really get in your face if you're going to own it too.
That's facts. That's
either
reality.
2020 or it's 1950. It can't be both.
It can't be both.
It
can't. So we gotta have one or the other. So again, this is WGSN Going Solo Network. I got the dean right here. We were talking about dating dynasties. If you missed it, we went through the medieval times, the Renaissance. We went through the Victorian age, and the differences between the different eras, and compared them to a lot of today's narratives. But all you gotta do is hit that rewind button. Next week we're gonna be back, and we're gonna talk about the 80s and the 70s and the 90s. That's gonna be real fun. And we may even talk about a little bit of free love too. Hey, stay golden, stay amazing. We love you. We teach love. This is Going Solo Network. I'm Mr. Twice, and you was thinking twice all day.